All right, everybody, welcome back to Modern Ronin Media. My name's Tommy, and this is a filmmaking channel for people who love to make film. Today, we're going to be talking about stands. What? Everyone knows what stands are. C stands, combo stands, light stands. Well, we're actually going to get into some ideas of how I use stands and why I think, not that my way is better or more important, but that I think I have a pretty good idea of why I use stands the way I do. So let's first talk about the two different types of stands. Light stands, or heavier duty light stands like combo stands, which are still following the basic form and function of light stands. And then C stands, which we all are pretty familiar with in this business. So let's start by talking about what makes C stands and light stands different and ways to think about using them. So let's start with their bases. As you can tell, this is a typical light stand made by Ravelli, probably a $20 to $50 light stand. This thing's probably 10 years old, so I don't know exactly how much I spent for it. But what makes a light stand different than a C stand when it comes to their bases? Well, light stands typically use what I call a pyramid base. So it's three triangular bases that then come down and distribute weight down the center. Just like a tripod. The reason why tripods are made the way they are is because they're great at distributing the top weight straight down the center of each leg. That's why when you get a tripod where you have to put it on an uneven surface, you can adjust the legs and still try to get the weight balance. Same with the concept of these light stands, how you have all of the force coming from the top down, and each leg is spread out far enough to push down on it. Whereas with a C stand, you don't quite have the same thing. Yes, you have three legs, but with the C stand, you have three legs of different heights, but they're not triangular back up to somewhere along the shaft. They actually go down to the base of the shaft. And that changes the way weight is distributed with a C stand. So with a basic light stand, say on this heavy duty combo stand, is the same principle. I'm not going to try to lift it up, but it has the same basic legs as the C stand does. So when we look at this light, I'm moving the combo stand because it's on slick concrete, but it's not wobbly like with the C stand where you get a little bit of wobble. And yes, this one may be a little bit loose. So why does it do that? Well, if we take this Amaran 100D and look at it. If you look at the way it's mounted, so let's take this off real quick. It's mounted where the baby pin, which in case you're unfamiliar is this guy right here, goes straight up the bottom. But if you look at the way this is without the reflector on it, it is pretty much center of balance. And then when we throw the reflector back on, it just balance is almost perfect. So the weight is evenly dispersed. So when we put it onto a light stand or a combo stand, all of the pressure of the weight is going downward through the shaft, all the way down to the base where those legs spread out and disperse it. We put the same light onto the C stand. What we get is downward pressure to the base, but the base isn't coming up like this and spreading the load. The base is going all the way down to the bottom of the C stand, and then it's spreading the load at the base of the C stand, which gives us a little bit of play. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is. So let's go back to the light stand and show this. So if we take this light stand and we raise it to, let's start with the top one. We raise it to the highest point on this top bar. Now I have a little bit of uneven concrete floors here. We get a little bit of play, but we can still feel as we're pushing downward from, say, the weight of something like a 60D from Aperture, which is their 600, which is their huge light. Probably should not put it onto a light stand, but all of that weight, I think it's a 30-pound light, 20-pound light, this light stand probably can't hold it. Remember, all of these things, C stands, light stands, combo stands are rated for weight, and you should probably know the weight that your stands are weighted for. Otherwise, friction will cause any of these points to slide and you'll have a crashing down light. But so anyways, let's just say with the 300X right over here, put that up there, it's still going to be pushing the weight down forward. And if we go up to the top of the second stage, again, the natural tendency of the weight of the light and the reflector is going to be pushing all of its force straight down the shaft of the light. And it's not going to move much because it has that pyramid-shaped base at the bottom, which is dispersing the legs, or the weight through the legs at a pretty wide distance. Whereas with the C-stand, right now, because it's at the very bottom of the shaft, we're already getting a little tiny bit of wobbliness. This is why with both C-stands and light stands, we always recommend that you go ahead and you sandbag them, but more so I think with the C-stand. So we'll take this one up to the top of the first stage. And you can see up here, you're already getting a little bit of more wobble, or you're getting a lot more wobble than what you get off a light stand. And here, look at how much you're wobbling. So what's a C-stand for versus a light stand? Well, let's start with what I think are some of the most basic things. I will say a light stand or a combo stand are perfect for what they do, which is hold weight that comes evenly down the center of the shaft. So heavy lights. You could even go as far as taking a grip head, this guy, and I'm pretty sure anyone who's cut their chops in filmmaking has used a grip head before, and put it on a light stand. And if I had something right with me, I had to go grab a cutter or a flag. This is actually a floppy. But so what I want to show you guys, because I do this with a bounce, and in this case, obviously this is a flag, and putting it on a light stand. I have no problem raising it, and it still feels solid, as high as it will go. In this case, I'm about to hit the roof. So it still feels solid, because with the configuration I have this in right now, the flag is almost vertical over the center of weight on the stand. So all the weight and all of the mass of the flag is just pushing straight down into the legs. Now, this may be bad and it may fall apart, but we'll try it. So what happens if I decide I want to go flat like this, even over the outside leg? It becomes a little bit less stable on the light stand because all the legs are equidistant. So that means they're pushing down evenly. These back two legs are not getting the weight distribution that they do when the flag is straight up. So what happens when we raise it? I'm only going to do this for a little bit. So when we raise the flag, I'm not touching it and it wants to fall forward even over the dominant leg. The reason being is, again, all the weight is all the way out here. I mean, this thing goes all the way to here and all the way back here. None of the weight is being pushed down the center of the shaft. In my opinion, one of the big limitations of the light stand is if you need light modifiers, gobos, flags, scrims, anything like that, that is not going to be directly over the center of the weight of the light stand main shaft, you're going to have issues. Yeah, we can go out directly at the lowest point, because at the lowest point there's the most stability on a light stand, but not any higher, because as you guys saw, it wants to lean over. Even though it's over one of the main legs of the light stand, it still wants to pull because that's the way the mass is pulling it. Now, You can use the light stands for lights, for panels, for anything, and they're great. But like I said, you run into some issues. And those issues have to do with anything that's outside of center. So as we've seen in the past, C-stands are meant to hold gobos and to deal with things booming out. As you can tell, I'm putting a lot of pressure on this, and it's over what we call the high leg. So this is a high leg, and then the other two are doing support. So whenever you're working in a grip situation where you're putting together a C-stand, you always want to have all of your weight and your high leg forward towards where you're setting up. So if you were going to, say, lift this thing up like this, and you wanted to have a scrim come out over my head, you would move over that big leg so the weight can be held in place. So that's the main thing. I think a lot of people think if I have to buy one or the other, I'm gonna buy a C-stand, because a C-stand can do everything. And it can do a lot. So like I said, we have C-stands, light stands, and then we have combo stands. So let's talk about the combo stand real quick. There's not a lot to it. What's the purpose of a combo stand? I mean, it has a baby pin right here, right? So why would you use it? Well, first off, it has a junior receiver, which a junior receiver is this gigantic, heavy-duty receiver that you'll see on the bottom of some light stand or some lights, or typically you can't really do it with the Amarants because they're really not made to be out on the set lights, but a lot of things you'll see will have a hole in it, and it'll be a baby pin receiver on the bottom of the light, but those fit in here. So these are for super heavy duty lights. Like I was saying earlier, the 600D and X have baby pin receivers, but can be put into junior receiver holes. The Nova P, 600C, their huge WWRGB light panel has to go into a junior receiver. There is no hole for you to put a baby pin on it. Basically, it's so heavy that it would probably bend one of these baby pins up here, but it would do nothing to something like this. So that's one part of the combo stand. The other part of the combo stand, which I kind of like, so you don't need to have one of these big adapters. What I have these for are another set of stands that we're not really talking about today. These are for slider and for the Kessler cine shooter, or cine slider. No, that's what I have back there, which I'm going to show you in a second. The shuttle dolly track. But this is a good way to do an adapter. So you can buy a junior stand, or you can buy a combo stand. I personally think combo stands are far better because I have the option. And here's one of the things I personally noticed about the C-stands that really sold me on getting a second combo. So we have, so we have the Kessler cine slider. This is a great slider. You can still get them from Kessler. You can add in the motion control kit at an additional price. So here we go. It's mounted on here. Great. One of the things that you'll realize, and with the cine, with the shuttle dolly itself and its 8-foot tracks, I'm mounting here and here. I just wanted to show you how it works here. So I'm mounting at each end, one C stand at each end. You don't get exactly, hold on. You don't get exactly stable. And so if you picture each side of, let me do it this way. If you picture each side of these, so this side and this side being where the tracks for the cine shooter, or the, why am I always doing this backwards? where the shuttle dolly speed rails go into, but you're mounting it in the middle because you have to have the stand. This is what you get. You get a lot of tension and play, and this is at the lowest level possible for the C-stand. What I have on the bottom of this from Kessler is let me pull this out, is a baby to junior receiver. So like I said, on the bottom of a lot of lights, you have this piece with the little screw that you put into the baby pin. So it would go in like that, and then you tighten it, just like I did when I put it up. Well, for junior pins, you go into the receiver, and then you tighten it down here. And see, it's not perfectly stable, but it's a lot more stable based off of the way the leg distribution is distributing the weight through the center. So with the two speed rails going out, the shuttle dolly and the cine shooter sit in the middle. So it's going to be pushing equally at each end down on the weight. So that's something to think about. Using the right tools for the right time. And I'll probably get some comments saying, well, you could do this or you could do that. I'm just talking to you guys about how I choose to set up my shots. I mean, honestly, when it's all said and done, you can shoot however you want. So to close this out, I'm going to talk about two quick things I forgot to mention earlier. One, C-stands are amazing tools, not just for flags, not just for going out and articulating out over the center of or taking weight off the center and putting it out further. They're also great to hold up butterflies, so 8x8s, 12x12s. When you get into some of the heavier stuff, you're probably going to want to go back to a combo stand. Again, this is how we have to think. But for people who are in that low budget, medium budget range, C-stands are going to become your best friends. I just don't recommend using them as primary light stand sources. Okay, so one quick thing I totally forgot to mention in the video that we are now editing is with C-stands, one of the things that they're great for when it comes to lights is also using them as stands for lights that have on big, say, parabolic softboxes, anything where the light itself is going to be over the center of the stand, but it has something coming off the light that's going to be way forward of the stand. So like I said, big, huge 4-5 foot softboxes, octagons, anything like that would make a great reason to use a C-stand for lights. Sorry about this. I'm shooting this on the iPhone so I can get it into the edit before it goes out. Light stands, great for center of weight. And I advise you guys not to cheap out. So and it's kind of sketching me out. The gobo behind me is being shot through the aperture spotlight adapter through the Godox I have right now. It's on a very wonky, cheap light stand. Doesn't matter whether you're shooting on the Amran P60C panels or any of the other lightweight panels, or you're shooting with a 600D. I always advise, if you have the time, the budget, and the opportunity, don't buy the cheap light stands. Buy the ones that can hold 15 to 30 pounds in that range. They're going to be more expensive. They're going to be 50 to 80 to 120 bucks. But you know what? When you get on a shoot and you get the opportunity to have a 600D, you're going to be very, very thankful that you had a $100 light stand that can hold it. And lastly, as I was saying, the combo stand. This is my new favorite tool. I think I'm going to probably get 2 or 3 more of these. This one right here is a Kupo stand. Kupo is a great company. I'm not sponsored by them. Actually, I'm not sponsored by anyone. So if anyone wants to sponsor me, give me a thumbs up. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. And as I always tell you, get out there and create great stuff. Don't focus on the most expensive tools on the market. Focus on the ones that work for you. Thank you.